Good morning. Before service starts, if you'd like to come up and offer incense, please feel free to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Yukari, for ringing the Kansho, our welcoming bell. We'll start with a verbal exercise. Repeat after us. Good morning.
Buenos dias.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Dobre utra. That exercise, I hope that exercise isn't illegal. Anyway, so the Russian was inspired by a young lady that was studying Buddhism with us for a while, and she's the one that translated Roger, Mr. AKA Climate T-shirt. She translated his T-shirt into Russian. My name is Shirley.
My name is Efton, and we are co-chairs for service today.
So if you're here this morning, that probably means you're an adult and a non-golfer and you haven't started your summer vacation yet. Am I right? Yeah, right now the BTSD golf tournament fundraiser is going on in Mission Valley. That's why I mentioned that.
I grew up in the inner city, Washington, D.C., and nobody played golf. A kid in the house with a golf club, it becomes a weapon of mass destruction.
Have any of you tried golf? Yeah, miniature golf. Okay. I took beginning golf at Mesa College because I thought, how hard can it be to hit a ball with a club, right? So I went into class with this big ego thinking I'm going to hit that ball and it's going to go flying down the field, right? So I get up to the tee and I swing and I miss. So that was the first rude awakening when I thought, oh, this might be harder than it looks. And so my ego shrank a bit, right? And then I finally hit the ball. So again, I think it's going to go flying down the field. And it just goes bloop, doop, 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 doop. And so that was the second rude awakening when I go, oh, this might be harder than it looks. And my ego shrank a little more. By the end of class, I'm this humble human being, so grateful for my golf instructor and with a great appreciation for all the master golfers, because you know how much work and effort they went into getting to where they are. So if you ever want to shrink your ego, take up something new or take up golf. Are there any newcomers, first-timers to the temple today? Oh, would you like to stand and say your name? Oh, welcome, Hawaii. Yay. Thanks for coming. Oh, where did you say you were? Oh, okay, Seattle, yay. Thanks for coming.
Certified Minister Assistant Bill Teague will be the Dharma leader this morning. He will lead us in silent meditation now.
Thank you, Efton and Shirley. Today, before we enjoy the silence, I'm going to ask you just to get a little more involved in your breathing than maybe some of you do normally. And that's just to do a slow inhalation and then a slow exhalation. And if that seems to be beneficial, to continue that through the silent meditation. So before I ring the bell, go ahead and from a relaxed state, just breathe in. I'll go ahead and say inhale and then count to 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, and now exhale, 2, 3, 4. And when you exhale, you should feel quite relaxed and comfortable. And we want that feeling through the meditation. So let's try the breathing one more time. And if it seems helpful, continue it during the silence. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Many thanks. Shin Buddhism is a path to the attainment of Buddhahood. Kansho, Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda.
Thank you, Bill Sensei. Now he will lead us in the chanting of Juseige, which can be found on page 35 in the Blue Service Book. That's page 35.
So for today, with apologies, I'll be holding this up a little close to my face. It's not ideal form, but it'll help me today. So I appreciate your forbearance. Juseige. Ragoncho segan ishimu jodo shigan fumanzo seifu josho ga omu yoko fu idai seishu Busai Shobingu Seifu Josho ga Gashi Jobutsundo Yosho Chojippo Kukyom Ishomon Seifu Josho ga Ryoku Jinsho Nen Joe Shubongyo Shigu Mujodo Isho Teninchi Jinriki and Taiko Fusho Musaido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaihichi Eget Meshiko Moan Heisoku Sho Akudo Tsudatsu Zenshu Mo Koso Jomanzo Ioro Jippo Nichigaten Shujuki Tenko Ompugen Ishikai Hozo Koseku Doku Ho Jodai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Bus Kusaku Shutoku Ho Kanhei Shinjoman Tokui Sangai O Nyobutn Mugechi Tsudatni Fusho Gangaku Eri Toshi Sai Shoso Shigan Yakoka Daisen Okando Koku Joten Ni O Uchim Yoke Shani Shikudoku Yodo Seisai Dohonbo Daishin Ojo Kansho Namu Amida Butsu Namu Amida Butsu Naman Namanda
Thank you, Bill Sensei.
Please stand if you're able for the recitation of the Golden Chain found on page 90. Page 90. Please read aloud along with me. The Golden Chain. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Kansho. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namandabs, namandabs, namandabs. Thank you. You may be seated.
Certified Minister's Assistant Bill Teague will now give the Dharma message.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you could come join us today. We didn't know how many folks we'd have here, but this is a nice turnout. Regardless of whatever number of folks that are sitting out there, it's the right number as far as the Buddhist message is concerned. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you've had a good start to your day. And it looks like it'll be another nice day after the clouds lift. And not too hot, so we're getting a little reprieve before the start of the summer. I'm going to ask you to put your hands together in Kansho. Shin Buddhism is a path for attaining Buddhahood. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda. So I wanted to thank Shirley and Efton for doing such a nice job of welcoming everyone here. The fact we have some visitors is fabulous. The fact we're all able to be alive and come together to hear the Dharma is fabulous. It's a lucky day for all of us. In the silent meditation and just now, I recited the opening sentence of a book by Tamakaro, Shigaraki, Senior Moment. His book is called Heart of the Shin Buddhist Teaching. It came out, the book came out in 2012, but I believe it was the year previously where he addressed the Institute of Buddhist Studies. Shigaraki Sensei is a Jodo Shinshu priest in Japan, very respected, very learned, and his presentation caused quite a stir because of his assertion at the beginning, putting the focus entirely on Shin Buddhism as a path to attaining Buddhahood. And that came at a time when it was very helpful. Back in those days, the Institute of Buddhist Studies was not quite independent. It had its ability to defer degrees, to confer degrees, because it was part of the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California. But some years back, the Institute of Buddhist Studies got certified in its own right and is now, from our perspective, a thriving seminary, which will help us with the next generation of Jodo Shinshu ministers and also share the Buddhist teachings to many others. Some of you know the Institute of Buddhist Studies has the job with the BCA of confirming any military chaplain in Buddhism. And that's because they do have that seminary model. Most of the other traditions that still exist, or that we're very grateful exist here in the United States, use a more Asian model where it's Dharma transfer. And if I'm the Roshi of a Zen temple, for example, I might go ahead and confer on one of my students the ability to teach the Dharma, and there are certain levels of that, but none of that means anything to the U.S. military. They don't want to take just one person's word. So the fact that there is a scholastic component to the training of the ministers in our tradition is encouraging to the military, and you'll be very grateful to hear that the Institute of Buddhist Studies and BCA are quite ecumenical. They have confirmed Buddhist chaplains from Theravada to other sects of Mahayana and even Tibetan. They're not trying to keep their thumb on the scales. They're just happy to serve that interesting historical position they have. Today, I wanted to share some thoughts about the how of that path we just mentioned. If Shin Buddhism is the path to attain Buddhahood, how the heck does that happen? And I'm going to share some thoughts about how we get closer to awakening. There's that assertion that I ask you to consider, that the recitation of the Nembutsu is not a static practice for us, but that one that allows us to deepen our spiritual connection to the Buddha over time. In other words, it's dynamic. So while we could say that the Nembutsu is the Nembutsu and remains a fixed constant of our spiritual considerations, taking the approach that in our daily lives we have the opportunity to deepen that practice over time. The reason that I wanted to talk about the Nembutsu is because if you're not careful, it becomes routine. Because it's just something to do. Okay, now's the time to offer incense. I'll go ahead and say the Nembutsu. But when we go ahead and respect the Nembutsu as a part of our dynamic journey, it can be, but does not have to be, a routine practice. It's up to us. We get to invest in the recitation of the Nembutsu, the meaning that is important. So it's a matter of investment almost. We invest our recitation of the Nembutsu. To throw around other big words, it's operant conditioning. We're conditioning ourselves when we approach the Onaijin to be grateful, to respect the Buddha and the Buddha's teachings, and to show that respect and gratitude by reciting the Nembutsu. Now earlier I had you go ahead and practice breathing in a way. We'll do that again in a moment, but it was just a very common meditation practice where you slow things down. So you don't have to worry about all the things that you might have on your shoulders. So if you take a nice deep breath, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just feel the relaxation. Your mind is relaxing as well as your shoulders. Your body is welcoming the chance to live in a moment where you don't have to worry about all the things that we worry about, that you have to worry about to live in this world, surely. But you get a vacation, or at least a brief vacation, when you recite the Nembutsu. So I was an English major at San Diego State, so I did want to say just a word about an interesting aspect of grammar, and that's called performative utterances. And what that really means is that when you say the action, you're doing it. Most of our sentences are conveying information, like I'm trying to do now. But when we started the service, I said, "Good morning," which is a shorthand for, "I wish you a good morning." That is a performative utterance because the utterance says the thing that it does the thing that I say. A common 3-word I'll get into a 3-word utterance in a second, but maybe the most general, common example to all of us is thank you. When you say thank you, and it's sincere, the words are the action. I'm thanking you. 3-word examples could be, I love you, if it's sincere, if it's not manipulative, if that's your heart. And for us, our most important 3-word performative utterance is Namu Amida Butsu, the Nembutsu itself. So I did want to get into the doctrine just a minute. We're reminded in various Dharma messages that we recite the name of Amida Buddha in gratitude for his most important primal vow. And we could even say original vow. It is the origin of our tradition and our path to attaining Buddhahood. In that vow, the Bodhisattva Dharmakara, on his path to becoming Amida Buddha, vows as follows. And this is the exact translation that follows some certain conventions that are confusing, but I'd like to read it and then just suggest a simplified statement. If, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the lands of the 10 directions who sincerely and joyfully entrust themselves to me, desire to be born in my land, and call my name even 10 times, should not be born there, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. There is an exception to that broad vow. Excluded, however, are those who commit the 5 grave offenses and abuse the right Dharma. Buddhism loves numbered lists because it was a mnemonic religion. It was not written down for quite a while. The 5 grave offenses include some pretty bad things, like killing one's parents, or crimes against the Dharma, causing discord in a Sangha. But there are reasons why this sounds so convoluted. A different way of saying it might be, if I say the name of Amida Buddha, if I recite the name of Amida Buddha, even just 10 times, I will be born into the pure land of Buddhahood. So that's a lot easier way for us to understand it. And it seems like we're being asked to take a lot on faith there. But I'll go ahead and suggest some ways in which the practice that we have as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, and I know Jodo Shinshu Buddhists are sometimes told we have no practice. That's not entirely true. We have no practice where we're the king of the practice. We're not the doers of the practice per se. We're the recipients of the benefits if we open ourselves to those benefits. And in that way, recitation of the Nembutsu is a practice. And it occurs to me that the heavy lifting in that vow comes from the word sincerely, or even joyfully, or in trust. So it's not just recitation. It's not just saying the name and letting the name take care of things. It only is helpful to us in terms of our spiritual journey on a path to attaining Buddhahood if it's sincere and maybe even joyful. And we have no problem in saying it because we entrust. And what I want you to do is benefit from the physical sensation you had during silent meditation. So that next time you're in line to do the Nembutsu, take a nice deep breath. Exhale, nice and slow. Feel that same sense of relaxation. You know, there's critiques that we give ourselves as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists that, you know, we don't do anything, that we're not active per se. And that's, I don't think, correct in our tradition, and it's not correct compared to other sects. You could say the same thing about meditative sects. What do those folks do? You know, they just sit there. They're not doing anything. If I were a Zen teacher, I would tell you that the person who is sitting most still, who appears to be completely at ease, is completely engaged. They're still like a spinning top is sitting. Or if I was the leader of a Zen group where I wasn't getting quality folks joining me on the journey, I might despairingly call them sacks of rice, which is what they do in Zen traditions. If you're not really in it, you might as well be a sack of rice just sitting there. But for the Zen folks, as for us, our recitation is an action. It expresses our gratitude. And we've been fortunate in having sequential resident ministers who have appreciated that fact and that help us understand that when we recite the Nembutsu in front of the altar here, beautiful spiritual architecture, so we're inclined to feel spiritual, we should take advantage of that. But we're saying thank you, a performative utterance. Thank you. Namu Amida. Because from Buddhist theory, we're finding a way to release ourselves from the bounds of the ego just a little bit. In some traditions, you feel like it's on you. And the question becomes, how does the self transform the self? It's impossible. In Jodo Shinshu, we go ahead and help the self transform the self by realizing our limitations. We realize we're bombu, foolish beings. And that's okay, especially because if we recognize that the universe has this wisdom and compassion for us, and we can call that universe Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion, that it's okay. for the moment that we recite the Nembutsu, and maybe even after you leave the temple, you may be filled with a kind of spiritual relaxation, or at least contentment. And then it takes a while driving on the freeway and having somebody cut you off and honk at you or other things to kind of get our back up. But in that case, we also still have the Nembutsu. I personally think the Nembutsu is a superior practice in part because it's so portable. You get to use it anywhere. And it's been a generation since we had Issei, and now we have many fewer Nisei here. But they would tell me, and this was in the 70s, that when they grew up, they would hear their parents recite the Nembutsu at different times, off in a back room. Maybe they were upset, so they recited the Nembutsu. Maybe they were really happy, so they recited the Nembutsu. Whenever they recited the Nembutsu, they were recognizing their limitations as Bonbu, their gratitude to wisdom and compassion that's available to us. You know, if this were a Dharma school lecture or message, I would go ahead and remind the Dharma school students that our Buddha is the okay Buddha. That is, that the mudra that is traditional is the okay sign. That's very wrong historically, but I think for kids it's useful. It may even be useful for us, because the message of how our path of attainment works is that we're already okay, even with our limitations, because we recognize them. As one other correlation with Zen Buddhism, the quotation that is most used in Jodo Shinshu services, in my memory, is Dogen Zenji, who has a famous statement saying, "To study Buddhism is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to become awakened by all things." Our reliance on the Nembutsu helps us see our own limitations. We study the self. It helps us understand the causes and conditions that lead us to behavior that is difficult. Maybe over time it even helps us overcome those by being more compassionate to others, or by recognizing that everyone has problems. If we're really not careful, we think that my problems are special. My problems are deep. They're very complex. Everybody else has pretty simple problems. I could tell them how to straighten things out in a couple of minutes. No, life's not like that. We all have deep, difficult problems. We have the opportunity to see them in a Buddhist context, the result of causes and conditions, and we can see our own role in some of those problems. The Buddhist approach to ethics is to study things further. A lot of times you don't have the luxury. But when you study things further, what you're trying to do is find out the best resolution for everybody, not just you. It's easy for me to identify what's the best outcome for me. It's much more challenging to identify what is the best outcome for everybody. And what happens if you are sincere, whether from a Zen perspective or a Jodo Shinshu perspective, identify the causes and conditions that lead to your problem, you may unlock as a superpower, if you will, the idea that you do have a role to play. That in the future, instead of doing X, Y, and Z, try X, Y, and A. Try things just a little bit different. So in that way, our tradition is very creative, it's very dynamic. and I wanted to share some of those ideas with you today. Let me just get back to performative utterances. Performative utterances sound like the exact opposite of what it is, because we might use the word performative to talk about somebody who's a phony, who's just talking the talk. They're performing. They're acting out the way that they think people will appreciate or deal with them better because of their performance. But performative utterances always have that component of sincerity. You can't fake it. So when you do the Nembutsu, just allow yourself to deepen that recitation, express your gratitude sincerely, and maybe even joyfully. We heard from a Dharma school teacher, Norman Kiono, about one of his students in the high school class who was asked what they got out of the classes. And she said that, I hope I'm paraphrasing this correctly, but she said when she started she was a pretty angry person. And over time she began to appreciate the fact that she should be more grateful for what she is getting. And now she says she's a happy person. So whether it's joy or happiness, that may well be a side effect of a sincere recitation of the Nembutsu. So I would like to thank you all for your kind attention to me, to Shirley, to Efton. I'd like to thank Yukari Williams, who rang the Kansho and joined me here to chant the sutras and the recitation, and certainly all of us for the causes and conditions that allowed us to share this time together. Please put your hands together in Gassho. Shin Buddhism is a path for attaining Buddhahood. Thank you. I love you. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda. So thanks again for your kind attention. I'm going to take prerogative just to mention that some people in the Sangha are concerned about very big social issues and the fact that Buddhists seem to be so passive. But there are reasons why that is not the case. And currently on Everyday Buddhist, there's a free beginning of a course by Jeff Wilson, who's a professor of religion, culture studies in a Canadian college in Waterloo, but is also an ordained Jodo Shinshu minister from the BCA. And he talks about Jodo Shinshu engaged Buddhism and reminds us of the contributions that we've already made in that regard. And he identifies 6 principles derived from the teachings of Shinran. So I recommend that. I'll try and get a link to it up on our website. But if you are one of those folks who are trying to figure out, well, what's us Buddhists supposed to do during these difficult times? Do we just sit there? It's a good thing to take a look at, and it's very solid within Jodo Shinshu. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And your message of Shin Buddhism is one path to our attainment of Buddhahood, and also to say the Nembutsu sincerely and not take it for granted.
Please stand if you're able for the Gatha Namu Amida Butsu, which can be found on page 122 in the service book. 122.
Okay, we're going to play the music from my iPhone off of YouTube, so hopefully it'll be commercial free. Okay, thank you.
Namyo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated.
Next, are there any announcements? If so, please come on up. Jason's coming.
All right. As you may know, I am Penelope and Benjamin's dad. My name is Jason. And I'd actually like to talk to you guys about something pretty important. So, oh, hold on. Give me a second. I'm getting a call here. I'm sorry. I have to take this. Hello? Kurt? You're in Mexico right now? And you're being held... Oh, you need me to send you some money? Yeah, sure. My social security number? Great. That's 134226573. And you need me my bank account? Okay, I'll text you my bank account information. And my mother's maiden name? Yeah, sure, I'll put that in the text too. Wait, Kurt, you're right there! So, I don't know if this has happened to anyone out there in the audience where you've gotten a crazy message or phone call from somebody who says that they're a friend or a family member and they're in dire trouble and they need help right away. Well, this is an example of a scam. They're trying to take your money from you and your personal information and just to do horrible things to your life. And we're going to have a seminar where you learn all about these scams and practice how to avoid them and not be taken by them. And that is happening next Sunday, immediately after service in the Sangha Hall. So please come and join the seminar. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have interactive parts of the seminar where we try to role play and figure out how to avoid scams. We'll even have an opportunity to share stories if maybe you or someone you know has fallen victim to one of these scams, it should be a great time. So next weekend, Sunday, immediately after the service, the scam seminar will take place. I highly recommend you come.
Thank you, Jason. That was great. Okay, I have a reminder from Arturo Rubio that next Sunday is the last day to donate school supplies. And then I have an announcement. So, okay, Friday was, I think Friday was the first day of summer. So there's all kinds of summer activities in pre-summer. Like we had Juneteenth, and then some of the Taiko played at the county fair on the Asian Pacific Day, and the Bonodori group, they performed at Margie's Sumiya class group. Okay, now what do some of us Buddhists think about when we think of summer? Obon! Okay, so I'm here to remind you that Obon season has started. Tonight there's like an Obon in Sun Valley. Next week there's one in San Fernando Valley. The week after that there's one in Senshin. And our Obon is Saturday, August 2nd, so it's one of the last Obons. But our Obon practices, the first one will be on Sunday, July 6th, 11 to 1. And then thereafter in July on Wednesdays, 7 to 9 p.m. So I hope you can come out and to the Obon practice. And even if you can't join the Obon, then it's fun to just like come out and dance and practice. Of course, that's my opinion. I think that, oh yeah, and also it's Juneteenth. June is like Pride Month. I think I forgot to mention that one. So there's a lot going on in summertime.
We will now have closing meditation, listening to Ondak Psalm 2.
Okay, this is a instrumental of Undok Psalm 2. So please listen. Okay, I have a Thich Nhat Hanh quote. It's kind of deep. It's about lettuce, but you actually have to think about it to get the message. When you plant lettuce, if it does not grow well, you don't blame the lettuce. You look for reasons it is not doing well. It may need fertilizer, or more water, or less sun. You never blame the lettuce. Thank you. Now I'll do the closing remarks. I think Bill covered most of the thank yous, but I will cover it again. Thank you, Certified Minister's Assistant Bill Teague, for today's Dharma message. Thank you to Certified Minister's Assistant Yukari Williams for ringing the Kansho. Thank you to Ric Cheeks for the live stream. Thank you to CMA's Bill and Yukari and Katie for setting up the 09 gene. Now you may come up and offer incense before you leave if you wish. Also, there's hospitality 1 floor below in the conference room. And I believe the Taiko group is hosting it. So thank you, Taiko group. And thank you, everyone, for your attendance today, all you non-golfers. And hope you have a wonderful summer. Thank you. So please come on up if you wish. And pick up some of these Obon postcards in the office.